Hello, bricks, chicks, and minifigures. You are listening to AFOLs Welcome, where we talk about all things LEGO from the perspective of two adult collectors. We are your co-hosts, West.
And I'm Grinch.
And today we're going to be talking about displaying your LEGO collection. But before we get started, a quick PSA. First, we're back. Thank you guys for the patience. Yep. We took July off just to get settled in. For both of us, Grinch moved, I moved. Definitely time that we needed to get settled. And I'm still getting settled, but we're working on that, and we are excited to podcast a little bit. There's been a lot of exciting news this summer, a lot of stuff going on, so we're happy to talk about it this fall and summer with you guys.
Welcome back, West.
Yeah, especially
no more solo.
We'll see.
Solo show.
But I appreciate the audience and the flexibility, and hats off to Grinch, who crushed the solo episode. That was a story of each day me moving a little bit across the country going, are we going to record tonight? Are we going to record tonight? And then finally going, Grinch, you got to take it, dude. So, Grinch, I appreciate it.
All good.
We are experimenting with a new format for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. So please bear with us with that. If you have any feedback, we're happy to take it. We're using the Riverside web tool for recording. So we'll see how that goes. And next, let's talk about some exciting LEGO news. So before we get into the actual topic here, for our listeners, Grinch and I, because we had a month of not talking about exciting LEGO news, Grinch and I made a list of the top 10 things that we thought were exciting that happened in the month of July. Some of those things have been released at this point, but they're still, I think, very worth talking about. So, Grinch, do you want me to just go through the top 10 real quick, and then we'll talk about it in more detail?
Hit them all.
All right, so up first, the X-Men Mansion. Next, LEGO Fortnite. The UCS Burrow, or Weasley House, the Jaws set being revealed and released, a new color for LEGO, Mario and Yoshi, the Ideas Botanical set was announced, Botanical Garden set, tons of LEGO prices and set names for 2025 have been released for Marvel, Harry Potter, and Star Wars. Formula One announcing a crossover with LEGO, much like Space this year. So a crossover of different themes, which is exciting. And then last but not least, we got some news about the 2024 holiday set that I'm excited to talk about. So, Grinch, take it away. X-Men Mansion.
Not much to say on X-Men Mansion. Looks pretty cool. It's... there's been a copywritten, like an actual leak. I feel like a lot of times LEGO leaks are just like announcements, but like this is a real leak. So a lot of websites aren't posting it. Obviously, you can kind of talk about it, but you can't post the picture. So it's very blurry too. It's hard to tell, but it looks like a good minifigure lineup with like Gambit. And then it looks like it's going to be about the same size as the Natural History Museum that just came out for the modular. So it will be a modular, of course. So good size. My guess is there'll be a lot of bigger pieces on the actual building, and then maybe just a slightly less detailed interior just based off the piece count. But looks really cool. Hope to see it in real life soon.
I just looked up the picture myself. It does have, the confidential stamp over it, and to confirm it is fairly blurry. I'm excited for it too. I always love new buildings. Grinch and I were just talking yesterday about the Sanctum Sanctorum. And while I am not necessarily a diehard Marvel fan or X-Men fan from this perspective, as Grinch mentioned, it does look relatively proportional to the Natural History Museum. So for those of you who are into modular city building, and maybe, for example, you did not get the original modular town hall building, I gotta say this X-Men mansion looks like a really great town hall building. If you
I do
wanted to
feel,
take it
yeah,
that
you're
direction.
100% right. I feel like this can really be modified a lot easier than like the Sanctum Sanctorum, for example, where it's like
Yeah.
literally it's literally the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Well, and so that one is getting retired this year, and I still have not picked it up. And I have half a mind to pick it up just to try and modify it into like a library. I think the
Mm,
Sanctum Sanctorum would look really good as a library, and it's already partway there with some of the interior. But if I, not to get us too derailed, and this is going to be like one of our longest, exciting Lego news sessions ever, but if I had the set, I would fill in the alleyway. That would probably be the first thing to do, like expand the building out. And then, yeah, try to turn it into like a downtown library because it just has that really great library look to it. Looks kind
yeah,
of Parisian.
yeah,
So I don't know. I think that could be really fun and sets it apart from what it actually is and, makes your city a little more unique. So, anyways, that might be a project for me in the future. Let's keep rolling though. Lego Fortnite was just revealed with a few set releases, images. Grinch, what's your take?
Um, I don't know. I'm not a Fortnite player. I've actually never played it. The sets look surprisingly like I was impressed when I saw the sets. I was like, oh, these are cool. Um, like cooler than I thought they would be. As a person who likes to kind of collect one-off IPs, maybe I'll collect them just to have them because Fortnite's really popular. But I'm surprised about the size of all the sets. Like, there's not really any like smaller sets. There is, but it's like just a hamburger, which seems weird. There's it seems more geared towards adults when I feel like it probably should be a little bit more, you know, ubiquitous in age, right? It should just be a little bit of everything
I
versus
know Fortnite is still very popular,
yeah.
but that age bracket of Gen Z, I mean, I felt like it's definitely for both of us as a millennial and as a Gen Zennial that you are. Fortnite was a few years younger than us, right? And so,
I still have friends that played it though.
yeah,
I
and
just, I
fair.
just never got into it.
I feel like it reached its peak in like 2015, 2017.
It was 2017 and 18, but it's kind of having a resurgence recently.
Yeah, and that's fair. But
And its peak was pretty damn high, so like it kind of
yes,
plateaued, and then even even going down slightly from that peak is still pretty big.
and what I'll get at, and then leave it on the table because I don't really have any strong opinions on Fortnite, is that generation of players are now 6 years older. So your point that maybe they feel a little more geared towards adults, I think, is actually probably
Hmm.
spot on, and might be very intentional by Lego because we're talking about kids who are in their early 20s now. They're just getting their first jobs, maybe,
Right.
uh, hopefully. They have some money to spend, and now there's this IP, this Lego IP series that is super nostalgic for them. That's now on the market. So maybe that is Lego really dialing into a customer base.
Yeah.
But
Could be smart.
could be, but you never know. So might be giving them entirely too much credit. Next, let's talk about the UCS Burrow. We just talked about this one yesterday too. I saw the picture on Instagram that had leaked. I like what I saw. It looks pretty cool. Grinch, what are your thoughts?
I was pleasantly surprised. It looked detailed. It kind of looks. I think I was kind of alluding to the fact that it's not going to be humongous compared to
Yeah.
the other one, but somehow I think it does look. It looks a little bit bigger than I thought it would. It's deeper than I thought it'd be. If I was a Harry Potter collector, I'd be quite happy with what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah. Unlike the X
Again,
Mansion or the Sanctum, though, I think that this one, I think you could definitely integrate it into a city if you were like a modular builder. But I think it is just a little on the fantastical side that unless you were kind of comfortable with that sort of vibe in your city, um, it might not necessarily fit in as well. So I'm not necessarily seeing a huge future for this thing uh, with like the modular collectors, but I think it looks fun, and excited when Lego tries new things. So
Well, and I
I,
don't think it's necessarily supposed to be a modular collector targeted set. It's a Harry Potter set, right? So
no, absolutely, it's that size. So
I'm I'm kind of glad though that they don't just try to do everything like we've never gotten other than Diagon Alley, of course. We never really gotten Harry Potter modular styles, and I'm kind of glad that they don't just like here's your Star Wars modular for this year, here's your Harry Potter modular for this year, here's your Marvel
well, they kind
modular
of
for
do
this
that.
year. It's kind of
The Marvels they've
well,
been doing.
where with just with Marvel though.
Sure.
I'm saying I'm glad they don't do that for everything. Jurassic Park, Marvel, DC. Like it's fine for Marvel for what it is, but I keep it contained. We don't need to have like mechs running around every theme, but for modulars.
Well, I kind of do have mechs running around every theme, but all that.
We don't need no. What I'm saying is we don't need that with the modulars.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you need to always have one every year, right? But like, I think keeping it within that modular line, that modularity that Lego's created, actually allows a lot of freedom for people who are like, oh, that looks cool, but I don't necessarily like Harry Potter, but I like what I'm seeing. So let's do something different with it. But
I think
you know
we'll have
what?
to agree to disagree.
The reality is, I mean, come on, dude, a modular visitor center from Jurassic Park, you're saying
but
that wouldn't excite you?
nah, no, I would be incredibly disappointed.
Why?
Why does it need to be modular?
Doesn't need to be. But
But
if it
like,
were
and
presented
the
in a
is the idea to put it into a city? Like, I want them to do the visitor center as accurately as possible.
sure,
No,
but it just gives you options, right? Like you don't just because you,
I don't
but
want options. I want the visitor center.
well, fair.
We're
I
gonna
think
have to agree to disagree. I know you
yeah.
really like your modulars and you really like your city, but
I'm not
like if
saying
you're
that it has to be like incorporated, but like the Ninjago cities, right? Like aren't intentionally designed to be incorporated into a modular city, but they could be. Or like the Chinese New Year park that was done during the year of the bowl,
Mhm.
right? Like they didn't really explicitly state that needed to be like added into a city, but it could be. So I just think there's having those options already built in is nice. The cool thing with Lego though is anything is really a modular building if you want it to be. So, you know, uh, it's very easy to make that happen, right? So, anyways,
Mhm.
let's press to one that is near and dear to my heart. The Lego Jaws set was revealed and is now on the shelves. Well, probably not on shelves, but is
It's probably
available
sold
for
out.
sale. So, Grinch, what do you think?
We covered this one quite a bit. We covered the leak of it. We covered the you know announcement of the the price and the piece count and everything. And the only thing we missed was it actually being unveiled, and I think it looks super good. Um, I think it looks really good. To me, without building it and just looking at it, one of the sets of the year so far, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's really fun. I like the sculpting of the shark. I think that looks just one of the best brick sculpted sharks that Lego's ever done. I was just in the store yesterday and saw the creator shark that they had released a few years ago. And I mean, the Jaws shark and the creator shark are two separate, they're on whole different playing fields. The Jaws shark just looks fantastic. And the creator shark looks great, but just the way that they've designed it, it looks really good on its own. And then you combine that with a really well done boat, which is not something Lego does very often. Most of it is brick built. There's not a ton of large pieces in it. It's got some new pieces for the masts and the ropes that are, going up and down. It's just, I agree. I think it's a really fun set. Kudos to Lego. We did an episode a few months ago on adult themes, and while Jaws was not rated R, it is a story about a shark that eats humans, and they show it eating a couple humans, not graphically, but it doesn't leave a lot for the imagination. So it's funny because I think that this is definitely one of those themes that kind of pushes the envelope for Lego a little bit. But I mean, Jaws was the original summer blockbuster movie. It is credited as being like the movie that is defined summer blockbusters. And so not only that, but it is a fantastic movie to watch. So it's really cool to get it in Lego. My only wish is that we could get Chief Brody's. I think he had either a Chevy Trailblazer or
It was a Trailblazer,
yeah,
the brown one.
Amityville, police. If we could get a set with that, but a great crossover is the Stranger Things Trailblazer, which could very easily be repurposed into a Amityville Trailblazer. So, anyways. Exciting to see a lot of nostalgia for those themes and for that theme and those type of movies. So it's exciting to see, if Lego gets a lot of great feedback for something like Jaws, maybe they'd explore other Steven Spielberg properties. I mean, they've already done Jurassic Park. Did we get a Lego E.T. at some point?
We got it in Dimensions.
That's what I thought.
There was a Dimension pack that had an ET, so you can actually get the ET minifigure.
Yeah, that'd be another great one to revisit. Just there's a lot of great movies from the 70s and 80s that could be revisited.
Indiana Jones was technically Lucas and Spielberg, right?
Yeah. So
the one thing I'm disappointed with is I'm on the Lego website, and there's like a little like one of the images on here. It's like watch our summer brickbuster tribute to the movie, and in the background it's like a picture of the billboard for Amity Island, but in Lego form, and I'm like, I want that because it's got the girl swimming on a surfboard, and then there's a shark fin behind her, but she's Legoized.
Yeah,
and in the movie, isn't that the part of the movie where he's like, "Oh, it's one bad hat, Harry," which became a production slogan at the end. Anyways, we're off track, but. Set looks awesome.
Yeah. Very excited to pick it up. I almost got it yesterday on opening day and decided against it just with timing. But next weekend, I think that might be something I try to accomplish. So
anyway. I did not get it on opening day because I am actually at the beach right now and probably will be thinking about sharks underwater while I'm in the water.
What a great time to build the set, though, right?
I see. I need to look up if there's a Lego store near me because, I'm right there with you. Perfect summer Lego set at the beach.
Our new, well, I won't disclose where we moved. Our new location is a lot closer to the water, and so that was the vibe I was thinking of when I saw the set. So,
yeah.
Anyways, let's press. Grinch, there's a new color. Do you want to describe it for everybody?
Yeah, it actually looks pretty cool. So it's coming out in 2025. You can find it on Reddit Lego Leak if you want to see it. I'm sure you can probably Google it too. The picture's a little bit blurry, and one of the comments is like, yes, my favorite color, crunchy pixel. But it's kind of looks like mustardy tan, maybe a little bit more of a yellow dark tan. So somewhere in between dark tan and regular tan. It looks pretty good. It's obviously not a great picture, and I think the challenge with colors and pictures is that it doesn't always come out right depending on how your screen's set up, depending on the actual picture. So it's one that I'll be excited to see in person. But it kind of looks like a waffle cone tan, maybe, as a way to describe it.
Yeah.
Certainly, as somebody who has built some mocks, there's nothing wrong with adding in more neutral colors to kind of fill in the Lego palette.
Yeah, Grinch, I think you said it correctly. And it's exciting to see Lego explore with more of those colors. I just took a look at it myself. It almost looks, yeah, like a sand, like a really solid sand color. Um, that's not just like you said, sort of somewhere in between tan and dark tan. And I think they called it dark yellow, if I'm not mistaken, or
Mm,
that's maybe the description that the Reddit page had. So who knows what the Lego official color name will be? But it's always great. I mean, this year we got burnt orange, which was a fantastic color. And so, yeah, the Lego color palette. There's a really great Washington Post article actually about it, the evolution of the Lego color palette, and it's really fun to see how Lego has gone away from primary colors into
yeah.
some of these different shades. And so, one of the things that I appreciate a lot with mock builders and the regular Lego builders themselves is their use of color and color theory. And so it'll be exciting to see what people can do with this.
We'll have to do a future episode. We have quite a long list of future episodes, but I think one area that will certainly color. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak. One area that will certainly cover is color.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. Next on the list, Mario and Yoshi. Grinch, what do you got for Mario and Yoshi?
I was getting a little bit worried because I do really like the kind of more adult focused Mario sets that they come out with. You know, we got the Question Box, Piranha Plant last year, N60. I'm sorry, Super NES prior to that. Uh, I was getting worried we weren't going to get one this year, and then all of a sudden at San Diego Comic Con, just out of the blue, this is right at the time when it would come out. I think they just managed to not have this one leak until like a day beforehand, which is good on them. We got the pixelated Mario and Yoshi. I think most notably, Yoshi is the original Super Mario version, so his shoulder is orange. Which I think is a really smart decision here because it adds just a ton of color in the actual model, and then they just use bricks perpendicular to how you would normally use them, so that they're facing towards you. The tiles are facing towards you, the tops of them, to give it that pixelated look. And
Mm-hmm.
then that whole model runs around, and you can open up the tongue, and there's just little Yoshi sitting here running with Mario on top of him. Uh, I'm very excited about it. It looks good. It actually looks like a fairly good deal too because it's pretty tall and big. Um, it's one of those things that I think just is going to add so much to any collection because Lego haven't really done anything like this before. Um, which I really like to see them kind of branching out and trying something different. The back of it is disgustingly ugly because it's just a bunch of plates. I'm all for it though, because who cares? Like it's a display model. I know some people have the opinion of like, oh, it's got to look good from every angle. And that depends on the model, right? I mean, in the video game, you would have never seen it from any other angle than this. And that's how you see it in Lego form. And I think it just looks really cool. I'm excited for it.
Nice. I am not as excited for it, but it kind of
Well,
gives me a
if I
headache.
could, if you could turn it into a modular, would you like it better?
Oh, zing. Uh,
Oh, got him.
yeah, got him. No, it kind of gives me a headache, honestly, looking at it. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know why. I think it's just the pixelation on it. The block. I mean, again, the color on it is great. The way it transitions from like the red to the dark red to the brown on Mario's cap, and it's definitely done really well. Yeah,
All good. Yeah, it. Lego is so big now. We talked about it in our value that like in our curating. That's like a set doesn't have to be for everybody, right? And that's okay.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about that more today. I'm gonna go on a slight tangent because it's a perfect time to introduce the topic of like I was thinking about this, the past month as we were taking a break and I'm working on my own collection. I hated the fact that all of a sudden, being an AFOL 8 years ago meant that you could buy all of the sets that were designed for adults, right? Like you could get them all because there was like 20 of them. Like that's what the sets you got that year. But now it's tough because there's between this and then, like, for example, the Simba and Lion King, that looks really good, but I'm never going to buy it, right? There's all sorts, Hocus Pocus set. There's um, the big cars. I mean, everything, right? Modular buildings. Like, it makes me happy now, kind of as a displayer, that there are so many sets out there because it makes displays more unique.
Yeah.
And it really allows people to kind of customize and curate their collection a little bit more versus just everybody having Star Wars. So we'll get to that, but I thought that was the appropriate time to bring it up. That it's okay if you're looking at any of these sets and are like, I don't like it, it's not for me, then don't buy it. That's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that we, I think on this podcast have tried to make very clear, right, is like you can enjoy it from a distance. You don't have to own it to enjoy a set.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's hard, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I saw on YouTube a creator titled his episode like Lego FOMO. And I was like, I think that is very much part of the what's going on here too, right? Is you see a lot of other people get it on like YouTube or whatever, like they're reviewing it and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Like I'd love to see that. And then, but like you don't have to own it, like
Right.
I don't know. I've been trying to sort of acknowledge that there are sets that I can enjoy from a distance and be okay with that. Whereas there are sets where I'm like, I think this would just be really fun to build and own. And that's one I'm excited for. So, yeah.
I think the perfect example of that is the next set on our list, the Ideas Botanical Gardens, where I'm sure it's going to be really cool. But for me, it's expensive for me and for anybody. It's like $300.
Yeah.
And I don't really have a place for it. I just don't. $330, 3,800 pieces. So price to part ratio pieces, or price to part people will be excited for that. But I don't know. Maybe I'll see it in real life and be like, never mind, I need that. But that's just one I'm going to enjoy from the sideline. But it looks, so far probably looks good. We haven't seen it though.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Ideas one. I just actually came from a botanical garden this morning and was walking the dogs. So that's always fun to experience. I think for a lot of builders, right, when that Friends Botanical Garden set came out, people were very excited by it. And I was too, because it was a really unique Friends set.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how Lego takes, like,
differentiates it.
Everything in their, at their disposal, like what they create and how that is differentiated. One of the things about Lego collecting, especially somebody who collects like modular buildings for a city, is that Lego makes a lot of these buildings, and when you go and look at like somebody's cities, which isn't to say that just collecting them and putting them in there is wrong, but everything starts to kind of look the same after a while. And so, when they create these sets, it just, if everyone's city has the Ideas Botanical Garden in it, it's just like, oh, okay, cool. But I am excited to see it. I'm curious if this might be a little bit of a crossover between Ideas and the Botanical Collection. They've never really done crossovers like that, even when Ideas kind of blends in with a theme that already exists. So, yeah, I'm interested to see that, right? We have the Botanical Garden. We know we're having the X-Men Mansion release this year. We still have no information on the 2024 idea set, although I suppose, technically the Natural History Museum was the 2024 set, moved into a 2023 release date. So now the set for 2025, we're expecting to release around Christmas too, or beforehand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we don't have any information about that yet, and I'm curious what that would be. So, but I'm excited to see what they do with the plants. I'm always interested to see how people build plants out of Lego, so that'll be fun to see.
Yeah,
next,
totally.
Speaking of 2025, and then Scrinch, do you have anything else you want to say?
Nope, I think you summed it up.
Yeah, we have a lot of set names for Harry Potter, Marvel, Star Wars revealed. Grinch, was there anything that stood out for you?
Um, yeah, that. And there's also Ninjago. As I jog my memory here. The thing I think I was most excited for is obviously we're not going to go through every single one because we'd literally be here for another 30 minutes just reading off all that because there's like 10 sets per theme here. Um, Marvel is kind of still in an interesting spot where there's no like movies coming out. Obviously, Deadpool just came out. It's great. Go see it if you want to see it. It's awesome. But I don't, understandably don't think they're going to come out with any Lego sets for that. Um, so I kind of think we're in this interesting spot because they're coming out with Civil War Airport Battle again, which I think is good. I actually kind of liked this past Marvel wave where they revisited some Age of Ultron sets and then they revisited some Guardians of the Galaxy set because for so long with Lego specifically, right, like putting Marvel aside as like the MCU and the movies, just thinking about the Lego impact, it was just churning out sets for the movies that were also being churned out. And we never really got to revisit any of them. So I like the little bit of breathing room here for Marvel. It seems
Yeah.
like there's a lot of focus on Venom in this wave. And of course, the mechs, I could live without those, but excited to get another Civil War battle. Um, there's also some DC sets announced. And then I don't really collect Harry Potter. Star Wars is Star Wars. So I don't know. Anything that you wanted to highlight there?
Yeah, can you go over? Do you have the list of the Harry Potter ones on at your fingertips?
I will in probably 2 seconds if I can find it on all my list of stuff here. Yes. What's up?
Can you go over those real quick?
Yeah. Um, Hogwarts is a weird one. Or sorry, Hogwarts. Harry Potter is a weird one. I am talking all over the place. Hogwarts Castle Dueling Club, Hogwarts Castle Charms Class, Hagrid and Harry's Motorcycle, Diagon Alley Wizarding Shops, the
Mm-hmm.
Night Bus.
Yeah.
We needed another one of those. Uh, Maybe we should do a Night Bus and Luke Landspeeder crossover. Hogwarts Castle Flying Lessons,
Yeah.
Malfoy Manor, and that's it. Oh, and I do have piece counts on this next one.
That's okay. I think I just wanted to highlight that. So first off, I agree with the Marvel stuff completely that it's exciting to see them kind of revisit some stuff that's already been established that we've had some time with, right? We had the Age of Ultron set that was released this year, which was
Mm-hmm.
kind of a diorama, kind of a playset thing. I it's cool to see them kind of revisit that with a new eye towards authenticity or building more complete models. Some of the older
Right.
Marvel sets have always been kind of more play scale. Looking back at your collection, I've always liked to see like, oh, this is a really cool truck that they incorporated into this model, this set or something like that.
Right.
And
It
so,
was very vehicle focused.
yeah, the Age of Ultron set that's out right now has that really cool Jeep that's being used. I just actually watched Jang's review of it, and I was like, dang it. He's like, oh, it's a really simple model. And I'm like, it looks better than the Jurassic Park one, to be honest. Like, I know the proportions and scale are a little different, and it's kind of a more technical or tactical vehicle, but I was just like, wow, if they would have just made the Jurassic Park ones look like this, I think they would have had a better model. It's cool to see what that looks like when it's put together, but I think they did a really great job with that. I think it's going to be really cool to see what they put together for the airport. I'd love to see a little bit more scenery for the airport than necessarily, um, I don't need like a giant Ant-Man. They already came out with a giant Ant-Man, but if they had like one of those like passenger gateways from the jet bridges from the terminal to like the airplane on wheels or something, and it spun or could break in the middle or something, that would be really cool. Some of the vehicles would be fun again, and I know that was already included in the first one, but it's always exciting to see. For some reason Lego City does airport, but they don't do it as authentically as like Lego Marvel does. So it's odd that like you might be going to Lego Marvel to get like your more authentic airport vehicles for something like that. But that is one of my predictions for next year. for Harry Potter, it's really cool to see them starting to branch out a little bit more, right? While there are some repeats here, we haven't necessarily gotten like Hagrid and Harry on the motorcycle, so that'll be kind of fun. I'll be interested to see how they incorporate a Hagrid figure onto a motorcycle. That'll definitely be a weird setup. I could totally see that being like way oversized. But the Charms class, I think, is new with Professor Flitwick. The flying lessons, I think that was one of the first Harry Potter sets, if I recall.
I think
And
they just got one of those not too long ago.
did they?
Yeah,
I don't
maybe it
know.
was like 4 years ago now, though.
Yeah,
I haven't been
it's
up to
still. I
date with
think it's
Lego
a
Harry
fun one
Potter.
to revisit. You know, the Night Bus. Yeah, we had one in 2019, but I'd be curious to see what. I thought that one looked really good. I'm curious to see what this one looks like in
Yeah.
comparison. And then yeah, going out to like Malfoy Manor or something.
I think Malfoy Manor is the highlight here for sure.
Yeah. So that'll be
For
fun to
sure.
see what they put together. And then Lego Harry Potter is always a great source for alternative building styles for cities and stuff like that. So that's always fun to see too and incorporate, taking it back to the modulars for you, Grinch. But last but not least, I'll leave it with Star Wars. The one thing that really stood out to me for Star Wars was a new Arc 170. This will be the third Arc 170 Legos released. The first one came out way back in the day in conjunction with the release of Star Wars Episode 3. That one was, I'll just say, okay. I think I have two of them for some reason. The clones, that was back when they had open helmets for the pilots, but they didn't have the pilot helmet for some reason. They had just a black T visor. And so that was kind of odd because they weren't canonically correct. But the fighter itself was fun to see. A lot of Technic building in it, a lot of to get the wings to move the way they were supposed to, and to get the angles correctly. So it was kind of a hollow model. But the Arc 170 as a starfighter, in my opinion, just it looks really really cool. You've got this 3-person fighter that's got these X-wing style wings on it with these big engines. It just looks like a hot rod. And so that's exciting to see. And then when they redid it, it was cool, but it had a Jedi in it in addition to the 2 clones. And so you didn't get like a full version of it with just all clone pilots. So I think it'll be cool to see if they go back to like an all clone pilot one. I looked at the piece counts from the last 2, and this one has a higher piece count. So it'll be cool to see what they do with those extra pieces, and just cool to see what they put together, because this is at least, I feel like it's almost a decade since the last one came out. So we're going to see a nice change here in what Lego's able to do.
I think a little bit 2013, right?
Yeah, so a little bit longer than a decade.
A little bit longer.
So yeah,
2 things.
Yeah.
Another buildable Grogu, which is like,
Yeah.
did they just like literally do this? I don't know. If I was Star Wars, I'd be upset. Then,
yeah. Sorry, I have an opinion, but I'll save it for your thought. Continue.
I was going to move on to DC, so if you want to give me your Star Wars opinion.
I think Star Wars they have no idea what they're doing right now. And I would imagine the relationship between Lego and Star Wars is such that like Star Wars goes like, hey, work on this, this, and this, and Lego's like, okay. But like, we have the Onyx Cinder that's out right now for that new show that's supposed to come out. That like I remember seeing the set name and I'm like, what the heck is this about? Like, what is this for? And so like nailed it, Disney. You've released the Lego set way ahead of the actual show that we don't really know is good, but also like they don't have a lot of great goodwill with Star Wars fans right now. I think everyone's pretty worn out from just everything going on that, I don't know. I'd be curious to see if this new show, I think it's called Skeleton Crew, is going to be well received, or if it's going to continue to just flop hard like the rest of Lego or Star Wars. So
I know, and do not mistake it too. Lego was working with Disney on that Onyx Cinder set, and they're like, all right, cool, we got production times, we have to literally make this stuff. It's not I mean, it's intellectual property, but it's not media, so it's like we can't just hold the release. Like if we do, we're sitting on inventory dollars and wasting money. So we're going to come out with it on this day, and they're probably like, okay, cool. Oh, whoops, now we delayed it a year. Sorry. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, for real. I mean, not only that, right? But like Lego just they work on stuff at the behest of Disney from that. I mean, I'm sure there's some collaboration going on, but like they talk
mm-hmm.
about Grogu, right? Like that was one probably planned like 2 or 3 years ago. I mean,
Well, isn't there the
like,
Mandalorian and Grogu coming out, the movie,
oh,
at
who
some
knows,
point?
dude?
Is that
No,
next year, right?
I don't think it is. I think the last season did
Is it
so bad.
2026?
I don't think they're doing the way the last
No, it's
season ended.
2026. So yeah, the timing doesn't even make sense for that.
Yeah.
I was just trying to give them like the benefit of the doubt and be like, well, that's coming out next year, so maybe they want a buildable Grogu on the shelf. But again, maybe it was supposed to come out before that, and they gave that date to Lego, and then it got delayed with like the writer strike and stuff. Not that, ironically, the writing's always so bad in Star Wars, anyways. That better without it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Last thing I'll
Oh,
say is pour one out for DC fans. Looks like their wave is a Superman mech and another Dark Knight tumbler.
yeah. Oh, so I'm excited
So,
for the Tumblr because this last one that came out was so good.
yeah,
But
but you already have it, and it came out like 3 years ago, and like,
I know.
there's been
Yeah.
there's been like two sets since. So it's like
So unless they do it in like tan, I don't know. I don't know
maybe,
how I feel about that. But
yeah, but it has a Two-Face minifigure, so it's okay.
oh, there you go. Didn't no, it had the Scarecrow. Yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah, dude. I don't know. DC's well. I mean, I don't feel bad. Like, I talk
Mm-hmm.
about another franchise that was just run into the ground by poor planning and just. Anyways, let's
Let's talk
press.
about Formula One. Formula
Yeah.
One is kind of having a spot in the cultural zeitgeist right now. What do you think about this kind of crossover event like Space? So, for those that are unsure what we're talking about, last year Space did a crossover event where they had Space Lego City sets, and you could tell because there was a little dog-eared mark on the corner that said Space. And they did that across Lego City, Friends, Technic. They did the Space CMF. I don't know if this means we're getting a Formula One CMF or not, but what do you think
Yeah.
about this?
Dude, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting
Yeah.
that Lego does these crossovers. I will say with the space one, I did actually pick up a couple of the CMFs the other day, and I
Mm-hmm.
got the Ice Planet one completely by random like
Nice.
circumstance, which was like one of the ones I was like, oh, that's the one that I want. Um, and so picking up that was really exciting. The tiles that they're on are really cool with like the printed stars on them. So the Space CMF, don't sleep on that one if you're a CMF fan or you're on the fence. That's definitely a good one to get. If Formula One were to do something like that, Friends Formula One, I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Formula Friends.
Yeah, Formula Friends. Um, Lego, if you need any creative help, here you go. That's gold. Lego, Formula Friends. So no, I think that'll be really cool. It'll be really fun to see that in the city style. You know, this year we already got a lot of Formula One cars in Speed Champions. We got the
Mm-hmm.
Aston Martin car, the McLaren Formula One car, in addition to a pace car. We got a Mercedes Formula One car last year. So we have quite a few Formula One sets already on the market. I'm curious to see like what they could do next year if they come up with like a paddock, one of the trucks, right? That Speed Champions Ferrari Formula One truck is one of the rare Speed Champion sets out there. That would be a very big truck if they did actually create one, but it would be cool to see what they could come up with. And then, yeah, I mean, it's just fun to see some more crossover with something like that. A very technical, engineering heavy theme feeds into STEM really well. But again, right, like they did Ayrton Senna this year too with Formula One. So I'm curious what they're going to do next year because they've already tapped a pretty Formula One heavy year this year. So, Grinch, just thinking out loud, like, is there anything that you are excited for potentially with Formula One?
I am not the biggest Formula One person out there. I mean, I support it. I'm just kind of neither here nor there on it. So I probably won't be getting any of these, but I probably wouldn't have got the space or city set either way. So yeah, kind of here nor
No.
there on it.
Okay,
Use my money elsewhere.
fair enough. What crossover theme would be like the weirdest Formula One crossover theme in your mind?
Um, like where they could include Formula. I think Friends probably, just
Yeah,
because like space
Mia's
is an original space.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like space
Mia's
is an
first race.
original. Like space, you have a little bit more creative freedom with, right? But Formula One's like, are you going to have a mini doll version of what's
Summer
that
racing
guy?
camp.
Yeah, are you going to mini doll some of the drivers, and
Yeah,
then like you have to have the actual cars at a different. So I think they'll probably not cross it over to Friends, is my guess.
yeah. Could you see a Duplo's crossover? That could be kind of fun, or like a 4+1.
Maybe it depends on like what Formula One wants for their IP.
Yeah, that's
You
fair.
know, like it kind of seems weird to do Formula One because I think Formula One is to help sell the sets. Whereas, like, is that going to help sell a Duplo set to a baby? Probably
Starting them
not.
out young.
But like, if you're a Formula One fan and like you collect exclusively Speed Champions, and then all of a sudden they have like these Formula One city sets, maybe you'll go collect the city sets
Well, and
and
that
kind of
seems
get
odd
you
to me
into that
too,
theme.
because like, are they going to make city sets that are to the detail of Speed Champions, or is it going to be something different? So, okay, our last topic for today for exciting Lego news. At this point, it's been its own episode.
All right, and that's a wrap on another episode of AFOLs Welcome. We're at time here. Riverside is kicking us out. No, I'm just kidding. What's our
Okay,
last topic here?
yeah, sorry. Our last topic is the 2024 holiday collection. We just got the announcement that it is the holiday balloon ride.
Yeah, is this like this is not a tradition in the United States, at least not that I'm aware of. Like
You don't
sleigh
go on a
bell,
balloon.
sleigh like a sleigh ride is not a balloon ride. Especially because I'm probably sure there's a little bit different physics that involve like going on a balloon ride when it's freezing outside. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, it'll all
Um,
still work the same, but it'll be a lot colder. So you'll be pretty miserable.
right? Like that would like it's
Unless this is
just
Arizona, you know.
snowing and wind blowing. Yeah, so like if anybody is from like Europe or another part of the world that celebrates, the winter holiday, Christmas, let us know in the comments. Is are balloon rides a tradition out there, or is that? I'm just scratching my head on this one completely.
Yeah, it's an odd choice. The theme has definitely, I think, running thin on. They haven't revisited anything yet other than the toy shop debacle.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if maybe they go back to stuff that they've done and revisit those again, or if they go and dip their toes back into some of the fantasy sets. But honestly, even at the fantasy side of the house, I feel like they've kind of pulled a lot out of that too. So
I would argue that point a little bit, and here's why. I had my own holiday set up like permanently. Instead of a city, I did a Winter's Village, and I did a lot of mocks. I never really got to the point where I was making them, but I made like a hardware store, which is like synonymous with Christmas, like going to get holiday lights, etc. Right? Like a hardware
yeah,
store would be really good. But when I was making custom ones, I would often do, I think they're called, um, I forget what the brand's called, but it's like Zena something. I think it starts with a Z. But they literally have the clay old school Winter Village sets, and there's a bajillion of them. I mean,
mm,
people have like this theme should have like an ongoing source of inspiration, like coffee shop, We got a fire station, but what about a Christmas police station, right?
Yeah.
As I said, a hardware store. There's four right there. Um, Cafe. We haven't really got a Winter Village cafe yet, have we? Um, Winter
No.
Village downtown, right? We kind of got the downtown before, but there's you could add you could do a whole other one of those and add two different building facades and more of a town square-ish type of feel, right? Like there's still so much I think that you could do here. I mean, I said a coffee shop, but crap, you can do a hot chocolate shop if you wanted to, right? Um,
Yeah, a ski chalet would be good. I know we got the Alpine Inn, but
right. Yeah,
a
there you go.
ski
Ski
chalet would be a
chalet,
nice like
department
kind of
store.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there I mean I
Um,
take your point. I think you have to decide, right? Like how much does Lego want to commit on building out really kind of more mundane is kind of a poor word, but ordinary things versus kind of focusing on things that are unique, right? Like I think a little winter airport would be fun. They had that like mail plane with the skis, so another
yeah.
kind of little like airplane delivering presents would be kind of fun to see. A hospital would be kind of maybe not fun, but
Oh God, oh
um,
God. Santa's visit to the children with cancer. Like, oh God.
oof,
Ouch.
yeah,
Lennox is what they are called.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, to your point, there's a lot that they could do. They could do another Christmas train, like something a little bit bigger. Um, I don't know.
Here, here's
Uh,
here's one just from like their website, just from me Google searching it. A bed and breakfast.
yeah. Well, the Alpine Inn is basically that, but
Yeah, true, true,
there.
true, true, true. But this would
Anyways,
be more like a downtown Victorian. Anyways, yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll
yeah.
push.
It's an odd choice. I'm excited to see it in person. It sounds like there's going to be some smaller builds around it, but
Hmm.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they put together. So
I don't mind the diversity in sets. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
I'm glad it's unique.
and I
It
will
just is
say
a head
this.
scratcher for me.
Yeah, as a theme, never count Lego out. They always kind of have something up their sleeve.
Yep.
So I would be very surprised if this was a dud. They usually end up being very good. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they put together. But let's press. So wow, whew. That was covering all of the exciting Lego news that happened in July. For listeners, if this is your first time, it won't go that long. Usually we stick to like three, but we had
Normally
to
the
kind of.
episode's wrapping up by now.
And so we're actually going to talk about our main topic this week, which is displaying your Lego collection. Now, I will start off and just kind of share that I have not had too much practice with this. So I've had a lot of hypothetical sort of opinions that I'll share as we go. But Grinch, you're really the one who's done the most in terms of setting up your collection. So um, why don't we talk, Grinch? Let's just describe some of your past efforts in setting up Lego
Hmm.
collections. Um, let's start with, you said earlier you kind of opened it with you started to create a winter village. So let's open with that and talk about your experience up till now, real quick.
Sure. I always had the traditional, like, hey, here's a shelf, here's a little IKEA shelf, bookshelf, Lego display, put my minifigures over here, and a kind of, it was called SF display, in case anybody didn't hear me the first time, which is just like a nice little, like, mounted display that you can put on the wall that I put my minifigures on. And I was doing Winter Village. I quickly learned that having a Lego city is enough upkeep on its own. And then when you're also doing like a curated display, I mean, trying to have an elevated display experience versus just sets on a shelf. Um, and being a working professional, you quickly run out of time in the day. So I decided to kind of move away from that Winter Village and having a city set up. Um, but I wanted to mention like that's certainly a way that you can display, right? Is through a city.
Yeah.
So I kind of started with that, which I feel like is probably synonymous with most people's displaying experience, where you've got your IKEA Billy bookshelf or your Kallax unit, which is just those little squares, and you've got some shelves on some sets that you've built on a shelf, and you just kind of keep them there. And that quickly wasn't enough for me, so figured out that dust is my least favorite thing in the world. So I wanted to take that a step further, wanted to add some lights on it. So I'm kind of going through my second iteration of this now. I had my setup with a bunch of dark brown shelves. I had 5 Billy bookshelves, or I guess, sorry, 4 Billy bookshelves, 2 Kallax units, and then three bigger displays that I used with lights. And now I'm going through my next kind of hopefully permanent long-term iteration as I took some key learnings from that setup, and I'm kind of implementing them on this new setup.
Yeah. Nice.
Which I just came out with a video of kind of me kind of getting that all set up.
Yeah.
So if you want to have some more information on the thought process there with a visual, we'll cover most of it here again, but you'll be able to get it there too.
So you've done this a couple of times. Why, other than time and dust, was there any other factor that kind of pushed you to change the way that you've done your displays? I know,
I moved quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gift and a curse, because you get to reimagine the display in one area versus another, which for the first move wasn't an issue, and quite honestly, it wouldn't have been for the second move had I not have been, dropping some shelves like flies, because they were cheap IKEA shelves that don't really move well. Mm-hmm. So,
you said you were dropping them, like physically dropping them?
No, because they were just falling apart a little bit, and they weren't going to keep moving well. And this isn't my last move, so I wanted to take it as a reason to kind of reevaluate the display situation.
Okay. Yeah. And then what's, you said you don't like dust. Did you ever try, vacuuming, dusting? Mm-hmm. Was there anything that worked well for you, or?
So all I'll say is be careful, and also keep in mind that the collection, the hobby's changed quite a bit since I went through a lot of this originally. Like, mm-hmm. This is circa 2017, 2018, whereas like now there's the hobby really exploded since then. So there's a lot more of these niche brands. Like I got an ad the other day for like a Lego specific vacuum that has these really like soft bristle ends to help you dust your actual model, which like I'm going to get one of those because that just seems really cool, and I'll have to still do a little bit of dusting.
I think they have one at Costco that's like
do they?
Designed for that. Yeah, not specifically advertised, but it's like the small handheld one.
Yeah, and it's got like a little bin actually, so if you do suck up your Lego, it
Mm-hmm.
goes in there. Because the challenge with dusting is if you use like a traditional duster, then you just push dust around, like it doesn't actually collect it very well.
Yeah.
I've done some things where I've used brushes, but depending on the type of brush, you have to use like a really soft bristle brush, because the brush can actually
scratch
the surface, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I hate dust. And if you don't dust, it can actually collect onto your item and build up over time, and then it kind of can get the sticky residue on there, and it can get stuck, and it can actually damage your pieces too. Like it's not, you can't just get it off when you want it to. You do have to kind of maintain it a little bit, at least. The best way to do that is to then wash it, which is just, then you have to take it apart piece by piece and wash it, which is
right.
The process. And, all that time you save by not dusting it, you then lose by washing it.
Yeah. So let's change kind of pace here a little bit and talk more about the types of displays. So you kind of already talked about setting something up in like a city. Mm-hmm. What are some of the other ways that you've displayed your collection in the past?
So I kind of isolated 4 specific areas. There's obviously, you display your collection in your traditional bookshelves, right? Or you hang them, for example, from the ceiling or something like that. Uh, and within that, right, you display your sets. You can display just minifigures. Um, one thing I've always thought is kind of classy, and I'm laughing because I'm like just describing a Lego displaying as classy, is monochromatic figures. I've seen a couple people put those in just like a square picture frame and just having the different colors, and that's just a piece of wall art. And I actually think that looks really cool. That's also a
Mhm.
Lego display, right? So that's a way you can display it. And then also don't discount cities. I mean, I know, and you're really the reason I put cities on here is because I would always think, oh, this Yoshi Mario is going to look really great in my display, right? I'm going to curate my collection. It's going to go over here next to my Mario stuff, and it's going to look really cool on display. For you, you're always more like, oh, well, I'm going to get this tree house and I'm going to feature it in my city. Well, that's still a display, right? Just
Yeah.
because it's a Lego city doesn't mean it's not a display. So, for any listener that also has a city or only has a city, it's still technically a type of Lego display, right? Like when you have guests over, you go and show them your Lego city. When I have guests over, I go and show them my Lego display. One is just a different form of displaying and almost also curating too, right? Because you're kind of selecting sets for your city. You're not going to have the Unikitty Rainbow Bridge set in your city because it doesn't fit. I'm also not going to have it in my collection because it doesn't fit.
Right. So then you also talked about like sets and collections. So we've talked about this a little bit in curating. So I don't want to kind of rehash that episode too much. But what are some of the examples of the sets and collections that you pick for your displays?
Yeah. So, you know, obviously, one of the types of displays that you can have is sets versus minifigures. Some people don't even display sets. Like one of my first iterations was I had so many more minifigures over time than I did sets, just because one set might come with 4 or 5 minifigures, right? Like inevitably, you're gonna have more minifigures, and then you want to display your minifigures.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of changed tune a little bit because I think what makes the minifigures are a little bit easier to display because they take up way much less space. So what I really like to see is the sets really come to life, and I think Legos also kind of changed over time too. With going back to the example we talked about before with the Age of Ultron opening battle set, like there's stands on there to just actually keep people up and displayed, and they kind of did that with Spider-Man No Way Home with the um, Statue of Liberty set, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to like displaying sets, I find it now that like I like to display the sets. I think the sets are what the Lego brick is what makes Lego special, right? The minifigures are just this added bonus. So I used to focus really on just displaying minifigures. So now when I display my sets, I like to focus more on the collection of sets, and having a little bit of uniqueness in those sets. So I part of the reason I don't collect Star Wars is because I feel like I've seen a million Star Wars displays, right? Like you just go onto YouTube, look up Lego Star Wars collection, like bajillion of them, right? But what you don't see is like Lego Avatar collection, right? Like, and I mean Avatar the Blue People or Lego the Lone Ranger collection. And so for me, I focus more on when I'm displaying my set, the actual just different kind of licenses and themes that they've had over the years and bringing those to life in their respective areas. Now, sometimes you get a little bit of, you know, you'll drive yourself crazy trying to have everything perfectly set up. Like, okay, this right here is the Lord of the Rings section. Like, okay, well, what do I do with Barad-dûr? Like, okay, crap. Like, I got to put that somewhere else because it doesn't fit. So you don't have to stay like too tight on boundaries, but for me, your display and your collection is really like kind of a story of kind of walking through different things Lego's done. So I like to display all the sets within a respected collection, and I like to display the minifigures next to them now.
Yeah. Nice. So, you talked about the cities and how, that is a way to display things. And yeah, I think, one of the perspectives that I kind of take when I'm thinking through, like, do I want to buy this set, is could I display this in, or could I incorporate this into my city? Right. And so I think that's always fun to kind of come to Lego from that perspective. Sometimes I think that's a good way. Sometimes I find myself maybe being a little over zealous and buying something like, oh, I could incorporate this into my city. And then I try to incorporate it into my city. And I'm like, actually, I don't like the way that looks. So
you mean you regret buying 100 baguettes?
You know what? I still don't regret buying 100 baguettes.
Oh, good on you. Never regret.
Everyone needs a good fresh baguette, especially with the Paris 2024 Olympics going on right now.
Dude, I'm telling you, you need to build a baguette mech.
Baguette mech.
Like, just do it, please, please. Weekend
but
challenge.
A very good bakery would be maybe in order, or expand the one in the City Square, the Assembly Square.
Yeah.
Because that one has like more of a cake. Maybe I make it more of like a bakery instead of a
boulangerie.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, there's a lot of options and ways to go about that, and then certainly with different collections and minifigures, there's always ways to kind of do that. One of the things that I've taken some inspiration from you with actually is wanting to take a collection that I have. And I don't have a lot of collections, but I have collected every Rogue One set. I think I shared that during the curation video, and/or set. Hopefully not the last. And so I have a collection of those, right? And I would love to put those into like a cabinet just to keep clear dust and have all the minifigures set up either with the set or kind of on their own as a way to showcase them. But I really liked that sub theme of Star Wars because I thought the minifigures were great in that theme, and I just really liked the source material. So yeah, I think just because you do one doesn't necessarily mean you can't do the other, right? So it's important to understand where you go there. We already talked about some of the challenges of displaying with dust. Grinch, why does putting something into a shelf, what are the things, because I know you've taken extra steps to keep dust out of your shelved displays, but talk to me about some of these challenges and of displaying things like dust, the cost, building out the room, and how what you've done to sort of address those challenges.
So I'm going to use a YouTuber as an example because it's going to kind of talk about how I like to display, and this is in no means meant to bash that YouTuber or call them out on how they display their collection. It is clearly to just use them as an example and say, I don't like collections in that way. And that YouTuber is Duck Bricks. And that man has a Lego collection that is 10 times the size of mine. He has literally every single set, like every single set. I think he's only missing a handful of sets, literally every single one. And I used to watch some of his videos, and I just never liked how he set up his collection because there's just sets sitting on top of each other. And for me, that was something I was trying to avoid. But obviously, I mean, you would need I give him kudos because he's got, if the fire department went into that basement, they would be it would be violation after violation after violation because there's just Lego hanging everywhere. It's mounted on the walls. It's we pulled out a drawer and he was like, here's all my Lego animals. And they're just kind of sitting on each other. And I'm like, that was what I was trying to avoid. Now I understand that when you have that many sets, it's kind of either that or nothing, right? It's if you're trying to display all of them, you can either do it that way, or you can go and get a warehouse and display them, and that it will cost you tens of thousands of dollars just in shelves, right? I get it. So for me, I try to select my pieces a little bit more strategically, and that kind of goes into that whole conversation with curating. And I'm highlighting that because all the challenges of displaying, you can go that route, which Duck Bricks has gone, of just kind of having things on top of each other, hanging them from the ceiling. not behind, glass or not behind something, so that it's just sitting out. Um, because all these things are challenges and they all come at a cost, right? Obviously, if you have a cabinet or multiple cabinets, that takes up a room within your room, right? So that's the first thing. Cabinets are also incredibly expensive. So naturally, hanging something from the wall or having a smaller shelf is going to be easier, or a central console shelf that's in like the middle of the room is going to be easier and cheaper because it's less material. Um, Adding in lights and then adding in a door, really the way that I've looked at it and experienced it is the shelf is one cost, and then if you add in lights, you're going to double that cost. And if you add in a door, you're going to, I don't want to say double, I guess double. So essentially, let's say it was $100 to buy the shelf. It's going to be $100 to build and put lights in. It's going to be $100 to put a door on.
Mm-hmm.
So it adds, it incrementally adds expense the more you kind of try to overcome these challenges. So, hats off to Duck Bricks for having every single Lego set and displaying them, because it's just a challenge, right? So you either kind of do that and it's over cluttered and overcrowded, or you try to go the approach that I've gone where it's a little bit more curated, but then you spend just as much on your actual setup as you have on your Lego, right? So,
I think it's fun to collect those things, right, and display them. And I've always had, I think, again, this kind of goes back into the FOMO piece or the collection fatigue piece a little bit. You see a set and you're like, that's a cool set. I want to display that set. Mm-hmm. But like the reality is, like, are you bringing it to your office? Like, I mean, I know my wife and I joke about it a little bit, but like, we're never going to have like a Lego set, like in our living room as like a centerpiece. And so when people, and that's not necessarily like, I'm not throwing shade at anyone who does, because I think there are actually a lot of them. Some of the botanical ones actually look really good.
The ship in the bottle looks really good in my office.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. Like, I think there are definitely some sets that get to that point of being like a really great display model. But when you just have like a bunch of really great display models all together on a shelf, it just, I think Lego has that FOMO thing of like, oh, that's a really cool model, like the Titanic, like I'd love to display it. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
But like, do you just, have disposable income that you want to spend on Lego because you think it's neat? Or do you really like the Titanic, and are you like a connoisseur of the history of the Titanic, and have all these books about the Titanic, and this kind of rounds out your Titanic themed workspace that you have, right? So I think it's always interesting to see that, because I think on one hand it's very easy for us to go look at a Lego set and go like, oh, that would look great on like my bookshelf or something in my office, but will it, right? Like, so I think there's some interesting questions there. Have you found anything where
what you're defining is called maturity?
I see. Have you found anything where you've passed up, or have you bought anything that you kind of were like, oh, I thought I could display this well, but now I'm kind of having second thoughts?
Going back to what you said really quickly about the Titanic, using my example of, hey, that whole setup was $300. If you have 4 shelves on there, it's essentially $75 ish, we'll say, per shelf, right? Do you want to dedicate $75 of display room to the Titanic, or would you rather dedicate it to every Lone Ranger set?
Yeah.
So those are some of the decisions you have to make, and why space can be a premium. So going back to what you were saying and asking, is there anything I regret buying, or is there anything? So there was one set I missed out on, which was Barracuda Bay. I regretted not buying that, and I ended up paying a hefty price for it after it retired, even though I was very much into Lego while it was on shelf. I just never had much interest in it, and then I did, and then crap, I need to go get this. Is there anything I regret buying? I still have it, but I kind of would say, and it's not because I regret purchasing it. It's just because it's more of a hindsight thing. Because it's still a cool set, and I would totally get it if I was a Star Wars collector. But I have like the Star Destroyer, and I have the UCS Millennium Falcon, the big one. And I don't want to say I regret those two because like hell of an experience building them. I enjoyed having them. I enjoyed that process, but I just don't collect Star Wars anymore at all. Like I
Yeah.
have a couple of exceptions that I've talked about in the curating, and those are just beasts to display. And now that I had to move a couple of times, like I had to just totally take them apart because they just don't move well. Um, and again, I would not say I regretted those. I just like if I hadn't bought it and I were to buy it now, I definitely wouldn't. But I don't look
Ye-
back and like, oh man, I wish I had that money. I gotta go get those. Like,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't regret it.
As somebody who has just gone through a move, and I didn't take any of my Lego with me. Like, I think I have since
Starting the
bought.
collection number dose.
Yeah. Oh gosh, my wallet hurts already. Um, I had to take apart the Millennium Falcon too. That was the best sort of course of action, and just the time it took. I mean, that took, while working, I probably spent 3 or 4 nights just like after everyone went to bed, 2 or 3 hours at a time, just taking it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed that experience actually. It was very cathartic. And now I get to rebuild it, which is also going to be fun. But if you're someone who moves and you are trying to collect Lego or you are trying to display Lego, I just as a word of advice of somebody who's moved recently, and Grinch, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Done it 3 times in 6 years. So let's talk.
Yeah, I would just say be picky, right? Like this is a really great time if you want to buy stuff and leave it in the box and just save it for when you have a more permanent place to live. That's definitely maybe the best way to do it if you don't want to miss out on a set. But I would just say, just be careful with what you do because I mean, I probably spent weekends, quite a few weekends. The pace I probably could have picked up a little bit, especially once I got into the saran wrapping of the modulars and stuff. That could have happened a little faster, but it just takes
It
time.
took me 3 days. I actually took time off work,
Yeah,
but I that like this was your first go through.
yeah,
You'll get fast. You do get faster on your next one. What's taken me forever on this end is getting everything set up because I'm like resetting up the actual
yeah,
display
absolutely.
cases.
Well, and I had my city on a table that I built on a 4x8 piece of plywood, and I had to leave the table behind when I moved.
Dude, when you built that table, I told you, I said, consider if you have to move.
Yeah, but I don't know how else I would have built the table. Like the table was great for what it was.
Yeah.
The problem was, yeah, I mean, eventually we had to move, and I gave away 2 of my other tables that I had built to my neighbor, uh, and who appreciated and was going to use them for tools, right? But like yeah, so just that was hard with the collection piece. Something like a bookshelf, right? I think certainly moves a little bit better than like a custom table that you've
Yeah.
built. And so,
Well, and the 4x8 was the hard part, right? Because you can't get that through a door when you have legs on it.
yeah, so it just, again, kind of to take this full circle to the topic, right? Like if you are just getting into displaying or collecting and want to display, I would say just be cognizant of think through that. Like, hey, am I going to move? Do I have a move coming up? Because yeah, the UCS Millennium Falcon looks great, right? It is a lot to move,
Mm-hmm.
and displaying it is really fun. But yeah, just something to think on. So
Yeah, but don't let the and we already talked about moving in a podcast before, but don't let the idea of moving stop you from like getting the Lego sets that you want to. Like you'll find a way to move it. Like at the end of the day, you'll find a way to move it.
no, absolutely. So definitely something to keep in mind. Okay, so we've chatted on the collections. the dust, expensive, rooms, right? Like you've had to reorganize your displays a few times based off of the room that you had to display it in. Are there any other kind of challenges to displaying that you can think of?
Yeah, so when I think the challenges really kind of help you denote what shelf you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
The other challenge would be actually the Lego sets, and that's where I was also kind of talking about the Millennium Falcon, too. I was on Reddit the other day, and somebody's like, "When do you think we'll get the first $1,000 Lego set?" And everyone
Gosh.
was talking about how, oh, well, nobody will want to buy a set that's that expensive, etc. And for me, I'm like, well, hard to disagree. Like, people buy sets over $1,000 that are retired all the time. I don't think the dollars is the issue. I think the space is the issue. I mean, for example, look at like the Eiffel Tower. Now, I know that's not $1,000, but that set is humongous,
Yeah.
and I again enjoyed that set from a distance, but like, what do you do with it, right? Like, or even the Titanic. Like, you know, I built some in my display video. I'm kind of testing this whole shelf setup out where I've got the shelf sideways. I'm just using the case of it, so I've got a really long shelf because the sides are really sturdy wood, and that's going to give me like a 40-inch uninterrupted shelf where, like, yeah, you could throw the Titanic on there if you wanted to, but like, okay, same conversation about how it's $100, $100. Now there's just two shelves and it's $400 for that. So like, am I gonna keep $200 worth of display area for just the Titanic? Like, no, I'd much rather have all of Ninjago City up there, or a bunch of trains or something like that. So, set size itself can become a challenge. So, again, part of my display, as I highlighted in that video, I hate to keep referencing the video, but it's easy to go back to. I've got a middle section, kind of a middle island, where I've got shelves that are about shoulder high, little lower than that, chest high, and I'm going to put modulars on there. I'm going to have to dust that area, but it's only about a sixth,
Yeah.
an eighth of the collection, right? So like, strategically dusting, like, take it, like, do that, right? Like, it's okay to kind of maintain some of it with dusting where you have to, right? Not everything has to be behind the case.
I think it's interesting to. Well, I want to talk about a few things with your collection in the past. One of the first collections you put together with your bookshelves, I thought was interesting that you put that piece of foam in between the doors just to keep the dust out even more, which I thought was very interesting and thoughtful, right? Like, I didn't even think about, like, oh yeah, just that small space in the door could let some dust in.
Oh, my
you're
old Billies, they had that little space between them. Like, there would
right.
literally be a dust line.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, right? Because like, you're not sealing these sets in, but you kind of are.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was really creative solution to kind of keep that from happening. One of the other things that kind of came to mind as you were speaking was thinking about a display as, the amount of set, right? So either the number of sets, the amount of money, if you will, by the number of square inches you have in that area to display. And so, yeah, do you want to display one set that's worth, $400 in this square footage where you could have put a entire wave of, a Marvel wave from one of the movies or something, right? Like, so I think that's kind of an interesting discussion to think about that. At the end, we're going to wrap up this discussion with some advice, and I'm kind of putting together like a checklist for people who, when they want to start getting into displaying, they can think through. But before we get there,
Are you actually putting a checklist together?
no, not like a verbal one. We'll kind of talk through
Okay.
it a little bit.
Sorry.
I mean, I can put together.
I was gonna say, can you post it on the Instagram?
But yeah, we could
Just
definitely
sign West up for that. You're welcome.
There you go. But when you get to the decision to display stuff, Grinch, like obviously, we're thinking about how to set things up, right? Like you usually
Mm.
have one way to look at it if it's in a shelf. So you're kind of putting a presentable side or a facing side towards the viewer, and not some of like the sides with the backs of the sets, right? If they're open, or you think about like the Winter Village, how they all have kind of that dollhouse feature where
Yeah.
the backs of them are open for play, right? Like you're not facing those sides of the sets towards the audience. It'd be like going in the elevator and staring out, not at the doors like everybody does, but
Just staring at the back wall. Like,
you just have a bunch
hello,
of like
how are
Winter
you?
Village sets that are just like facing the back of the shelf. Be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and if you look around the building, you can see
Yeah.
the people back there. They're playing on the ice. No, I can't.
So from displaying decisions, right? Like, do you like to set up the minifigures in the set? Do you keep them separately? Do you just do the
Yeah.
minifigures, just the sets? That does actually, though. Sorry, just a thought for your
Mhm.
shelves too. If you could get like a mirrored back to them, then you could actually allow people to see into the back of the sets.
Oh
Which,
my god, dude.
dude, I know.
Sign me up, huh?
You're welcome.
I'm not doing
No,
that.
but anyways, think on like how do you display those sets?
Well, if I may, I actually want to go back a quick second
Sure.
and talk a little bit about the display decisions here with. Sorry, I don't have this mentioned on our notes, but the actual type of shelf that you display it on, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes people just, sometimes the simplest solution is getting one of those $10 shelves that's like, 8 inches by 12 inches or 24 inches, throwing that on the wall and putting a couple Lego sets on it, right?
It's like a floating
Um,
shelf.
yeah, yeah, like that's a really easy way to use some of your shelf space and get sets on that wall.
Hmm.
The other options, I think the most common Lego displayed option is the IKEA Billy bookcase, which is just a classic bookcase. The reason I say that and make that claim as the most common Lego shelf is anecdotally, I've seen it a lot in like videos, Lego videos, Lego
Yeah.
collection displays, but also IKEA is a global company. Anyone in the world can buy that case. So from Europe to the United States to Asia, like people know what it is, right? Um, I went a different direction and I actually got Besta shells this go around. And the reason I did that is because they're a little bit lighter, hence moving all the time, and they're also deeper. And that allows me to have more room to actually set up different levels of display. I
You
have
said
probably,
Besta. Are those also IKEA?
those are also IKEA, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The IKEA Besta. They're a little bit thinner. They're actually like 6 inches less wide than the Billy, right? Um, but I have my other option for a really long display. Again, go check out the video. You can see all of this in real life. But the reason I really like the Besta is because it gives you it's a 15 or 14-inch shelf, whereas the Billy is a 10-inch shelf. So you have almost 50% more space. And what that does is it allows you to have a front, a foreground, middle ground, and a background, right? You have three distinct areas to actually set up your sets,
Hmm.
whereas the Billy really only has two, if that. Technically two if you're using the same proportions that I just did with the Besta. Um, and that was something that I wanted to get away from. I wanted to have a little bit more depth in display because then, like I like to set up collections of sets. I like to set up, all the Avatar sets or all the Harry Potter sets or all the Star Wars Episode Two, Geonosis sets. And this allows you to kind of have a smaller one up front, maybe something in the middle in the background that a carriage or something like that, and then behind that you can have your um, big display area, right? So that was one thing that I decided to do with the Besta, and then I actually custom made the other shelves in the video. You'll see that. So that was to make sure I got a certain display area. So when it comes to actually deciding what shelves to use, figure out what you want to display and how you want to display it, more importantly, because that's really going to be the limiting factor of what you can do. So another example would be, I wanted to display the Millennium Falcon, the UCS one, on my old setup. So I had to find a shelf that was wide enough to actually fit that in there and deep enough. And I believe it was like 37 inches or something ridiculously long. So I had to find a 37 plus inch shelf to display it on, which was impossible. There's not a bookshelf that's that wide. So I ended up actually using the IKEA PAX closet system for that. And those were the displays that actually broke on me when I moved them a third time. They're closets. They're just not meant to be moved a lot. So they're incredibly heavy and bulky. So that's why I'm going with this new system. But so yeah, figure out what you want to display and how you want to display it, and then go look for your shelf, because that's really going to determine some of your limitations. Another thing as far as shelves go that I have for recommendation would be one of the more, I'm going to pat myself on the back here a little bit, but one of the more creative shelving solutions that I had kind of discovered over time that I'm actually not using anymore, but that worked really, really well with limited space, was using the Kallax at IKEA, which is the big cubes, kind of cube shelf. Because those are pretty deep, and then you can display on the front and the back side if you want to, and have light kind of pass through, which is really nice. But I am no longer using those because the shelves aren't adjustable, and that was more important to me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And so I think, to summarize, ultimately what is helpful here is understanding what you intend to display, and then picking a solution that kind of works for that. Right. So
if you don't care about dust, then you don't care about dust. That's great. Like, good for you, because that makes it way easier. Then you can have sets actually hang over the shelf a little bit, right? You don't have anything to close it. You don't have to worry about that. Lighting is something, in my opinion, that just, like, I am quote unquote displaying this set. If you can't see it, what's the point? And by see it, I mean really see it and enjoy it. So for me, lighting's really important. Like, have you ever gone to an art museum? And I'm not equating my display to an art museum, but have you ever gone to an art museum
Sounds
and
like
they had the Mona? Well, maybe I am. Yeah, totally am. I'm a curator. Let's go. But if you went to go see the Mona Lisa, and then, like, you can't see it, like, what's the point, right? So for me, like, lighting's really important as well.
Yeah, no, that's true.
There's also a couple of other display decisions, and I wanted to get your opinion on these, because these are kind of questions I go back and forth on. And you started asking me it, but it's like, do you display your minifigures with the sets, or do you display them by themselves? I've kind of gone with the in-between solution, and Lego, as they've kind of targeted more adults and started to kind of like come up with more minifigure display solutions on shelf. Like, for example, the Age of Ultron set is really meant to be displayed with those minifigures, right? Like, so do you keep the minifigures on that and display it that way, or do you put the minifigures off to the side?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's so interesting,
like,
right?
Back in the day, you didn't really have to deal with that, because, like, the set itself wasn't designed to have the minifigures built into it.
I know some people who are all about Lego minifigures, and then there are other people who I know who just don't really care about them and are more into the set itself. And we've kind of talked about how minifigures are kind of proportionally not really to scale, right? So certainly there's some really great sets out there that if you were to, like, really kind of put the minifigures through it, you're like, oh, this is kind of odd, the scale here. It's not really minifigure scaled. But as a set, it looks fantastic. So there's certainly some interesting kind of things with that nature. But to answer your question more directly, I think Well, like I guess I'm thinking about like the Rogue One sets, right? And I think I would want to display them with
Yeah.
the minifigures with the set because that's it. It tells an action, and I'm thinking of like the U-wing, right? You know, and that U-wing starfighter is sort of heavily inspired by like the UH-1
Hmm.
Iroquois Huey helicopters from like Vietnam with like the sliding doors and the people rushing out of it, you know, to like hop into battle. And so
Right.
um, I would want to, if I were to display that set, I would display it, you know, maybe just probably on its base with the wings folded in, the doors open, and maybe try to pose a minifigure like jumping out of it or something. But that would
So
probably
you
be the
would
way.
pose the minifigure with the set.
I think so. Now here's the other thing
Okay.
too, right? Let's talk about this collection because that specific collection has some battle packs, and I bought a couple of
Hmm.
the battle packs. You got me a couple of them too. Would I?
Ah, great Christmas gift. 4 battle packs. Let's go.
The battle packs themselves are great, right? But it comes with like a mech that's not canonically correct,
Not yeah, not
and I think
accurate at
it
all.
came with like a emplacement for the rebels, like a gun emplacement.
Yeah, it was like a little turret, right?
Yeah, I'd probably keep the emplacement. I probably wouldn't display the mech, but I'd probably use those to build out like the U-wing, right? It has a couple of characters in it, but it doesn't have like a complete group of rebel fighters. So I'd actually probably take something like the battle packs, and rather than display them for like the purpose of being like, see, I have the battle pack, I'd
Hmm.
probably take them and put them into the sets themselves without sort of ruining the authenticity of the set, like keeping the set whole, but just sort of adding a couple extra figures to it just to like flesh it out a little bit more. You
There's
know,
that nice Battle of Scarif set.
the landing pad one.
Yeah, that would
Yep.
look really good with some additional minifigures on
Just a
it.
couple ones thrown in there, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not really changing the set itself. You're just giving it a little extra context
Hmm.
where I think that would look really cool, you know? So yeah, that's another great example of where I think adding an extra figure into there or two would make sense. And again, you're not taking away from the original set, but at the same time, you're sort of enhancing the visual appeal of it. Uh, you know, I don't know, right? Because like it just depends on what your end objective is. I think it
I'm
all
so
just
glad you're going back and forth.
well, because that is my opinion, right? But I
Yeah.
think if you wanted to like display the set and you had like a little note card next to it, and you're like, this is set number 4307 with this many pieces, and this was the retail price, like, you know, how sterile and
You have
like
to include the minifigures in there.
right, like how what is your end objective with your displaying your collection? Right. And
So,
here's a question I was going to pose to you, and
okay.
it's a little bit of a dig, but it's one that I think anyone who is displaying Lego is going to have to reconcile, right? But like, who is this for?
Me.
Well, exactly, right? Like, I mean, unless you're going to sell tickets to come and see your Lego collection, this is a you thing. And so I think as the collector, you need to interrogate yourself on like, what am I trying to do here? What is this should ultimately be fun, right?
Right.
Or, you know, a hobby or something that you get some sort of degree of enjoyment out of. Because if it isn't, then why are you doing it?
Then it's just work and
Right.
annoying and tedious and yeah.
And so I would say don't feel and my advice to anyone who's trying to do this is don't feel overly burdened by having to do anything correct. You can it's yours. You get to do whatever you want. If you want to display two sets in like a fight or something because that's kind of what would make sense in the context of the theme, then do that. If you want to
Hmm.
display them with a little note card and it says how many pieces and how many minifigures and the cost, then do that. Like that says more about you as a collector than it does the Lego set itself. So
So this
yeah,
is
that would
a
be my
an
advice.
ongoing battle I've had over the years because originally I just had like my favorite couple sets on the shelf, and then I had all the minifigures over there in a display. They were one right next to each other. You could see them perfectly, so you could enjoy the minifigures, right? Because you know, in going off of what you said here, right? Oh well, I'll have the minifigure put over here, right? I might put him in the U-wing so he could run out. But what was the one? I think his name's like Bass John or something like that, or
Phase Malbec.
uh, no, not Baze. It's the little like gerbil guy. He's like, meow. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
On the door gun.
Anybody? Yeah, if anybody likes 90 Day Fiance, he looks like Big Ed. Um, he that minifigure is, I believe, unique to the U-wing, right? And
Right.
so, and to kind of counteract what you've said here, or to make you question yourself a little bit, if you can't see him, but you've got him set up that way, does that take anything away from you for looking at that set?
No, so that's a great point, right? And I probably would display it in such a way where all of the figures were relatively visible.
Okay.
So that would be my
going to Rivendell, right? Going to Rivendell, for example, where you've got the like elf forge. You've got those two random elves. Like, would you put them in that forge, like doing their thing, or would you be like, "Hello, I'm over here, just standing here. Don't mind me. I've just got this big sword in my hand." Like, those are some of the decisions I think that you have to consider when displaying the minifigure, like within the set.
Yeah. Well, nothing says once you've. I mean, you're definitely the living proof of this, right? Like, once you set it up one way doesn't mean you can't go back and correct it or adjust it, right? Like, I think you just have fun with it, and you figure out a way to display it. I mean, displaying Lego too at some point kind of gets to be a little, not like sterile, but like, with a city, right? Like with the modular buildings, you can put figures into your modular buildings to kind of like tell a story, but once they're sort of set, like, unless you decide to change how you want to display that, like, the story's kind of done. And so, the question I would have for anybody kind of thinking about something like that is just like, hey, there's no wrong answer. There's nothing that says you can't come back to it, and revisit it.
So maybe, I've honestly started taking a hybrid approach.
Yeah.
Because like that and I think it's finally the Avengers set, the Age of Ultron set, that's going to make me do it, is because that set's going to be kind of blank without all the, Avengers on it, right? And I think having them on it actually elevates that set. So for me, what's going to look better on display is just like a bunch of clear stands with nothing on them, or people on those stands. Like, I've got a bajillion sets, like you said, like, let's not keep it dry where it's just set. Like, let's give a set a little bit of life, right?
And a cool thing too with something like a bookshelf, right, is like you could hang stuff with like fishing wire, and so like fishing line, like off, like with little eye hooks, right? And so, there is definitely 2-dimensional space available, but you also have some 3-dimensional space too. And something like a bookshelf that does have the ability to, for you to put in, like, drill in those little eye hooks or something, you could really take advantage of that space to almost create like a diorama or a vignette in a way. That could be.
You saw what I did with those 2 bookshelves, where I turned them on their sides and then attached them.
Yeah.
That's exactly where you could do that. And I think you should do that for your Rogue One. You can have a nice little long display.
Yeah, that would be really fun, of kind of setting it up in a way that sort of makes sense. I mean, the Rogue One sets there's some Scarif sets, and then there's some Jedha sets, right? So there's very clearly like a couple of extra ones. So
which is another level of displaying, right? Like when you go into these things, it's like, okay, well, I got my Avatar sets here. Well, half of the second movie, The Way of Water, half of those sets are underwater. So for me, I'm going to have the above water sets on one shelf and the underwater sets below them.
Yeah. So here's something too. Have you seen like some of the display things that they do, the cases where they put like backgrounds on them? So like for your underwater set, whether you like use blue light or something in that section, or maybe you find like some some used not used wallpaper, but that'd be kind of weird. But like some, like some
Does it have cigarette
nautical,
stains on it too?
or like some grease stains. Yeah. No, but like
Yeah.
some, something for like a fish tank or something, right? That you could like,
Yeah. I hear
wrap
you.
it in, and then you would have like an underwater area too. That could be really fun as well, right? So I think there's just the sky's the limit, no pun intended, on how you can display different Lego and how you go about it. So, but that's where, like you said, that's
Bis
where it gets kind of fun.
Bistan or Bisjan, that's the guy's name.
So, um,
So here's the other question I have for you though.
yeah,
So when it comes to Rogue One, I'm just going to go back to this example. Krennic only came in one set,
yep,
but he's in multiple scenes.
yeah,
Krennic or Saul Guerrera didn't really come in a Rogue One set,
yeah,
but you'll have them as part of your collection.
yeah,
Um, Lego does this, and I'm not like calling Lego out on it. I mean, it makes sense. Well, they'll throw random minifigures, throughout sets, so that you have to get multiple sets to get like the complete collection of the crew, right?
hmm,
Um, the Infinity Stones, for example. So, looking back at the Rogue One sets, if you want that kind of sub rebellion crew, and I forget all their names, but there's Baze, then there's Chirrut and Bisjan, and then Saul, and then the other
yeah.
guy, the kind of like tall walking white thing. Um, they all came in different sets. So, would you rather have them all together as like, hey, here's the rebellion people, or would you rather have them with the respective set? If it, what if it doesn't make sense based off the IP though?
No, that's a good point, right? I mean, so like Saw came in the Darth Maul
25th
trailer,
anniversary, yeah.
which actually I still have not been able to find it on shelves at all. Like that set is elusive to me right now. Um, I haven't checked the Lego store, I guess, but I went into like Targets across the U.S. I have not been able to find it on the shelf.
Is it a Walmart exclusive then?
Oh, that would be a great question. That might
Yeah.
be. I mean, yeah, I haven't gone to as many WalMarts, but I haven't seen it there either. So, um, but yeah, easily remedied by ordering it online from Lego. But just a kind of interesting anecdote. Um, to your point, though, I don't know, right? Like maybe that is where I pick like CMF bases, and then you could take all of the figures and kind of like the DC CMF did for a little bit, like pose them in like an action stance. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's how you display them. I mean, I think there's no wrong answer here, right? I mean,
No, there's again, ultimately you do this for you, right?
yeah.
Like at the end of the
Someone
day.
like Saw Gerrera, I suppose I would leave him on his 25th anniversary minifigure stand and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of include him in the
Just have
larger
them there.
collection. Yeah.
But let's say, for example, a Marvel example where you've got like the Ant-Man going to Civil War.
Yeah.
If you wanted to have Black Panther at the Civil War battle, airport battle, he didn't come in that. He came in the. He didn't come in that. He didn't. He came in the um, Black Panther aerial
Like
pursuit
pursuit.
set,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, would you put him next to that, or would you put him next to the Big Showdown?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question, right? And again, I think it just goes to how you would want to display it. But if you were trying to display the sets, um, I would probably keep it separate unless you were trying to make like a more complete showdown, or if you had a second
Mm-hmm.
one that maybe was not the same one, or maybe there was another one that came in another set, for example, that you're not displaying, or it was just like an extra one. You could use that too. Um,
Here's another minifigure display question to grind your gears.
sure.
Because these are all things I've had to deal with and kind of decisions I've had to make when it came to displaying my sets.
Yeah.
So, for example, um, Bruce Banner,
Okay.
he was in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Wait, was he in? Was he also released in Infinity War? I'm trying to think of. Sometimes you'll have minifigures that were released in one set that are also part of another set.
Hmm.
So do you, again, this is where displaying them as sets is pretty obvious. Like, okay, well, Bruce Banner came in this set, he's also going to be in this set. Or do you not do that? So if you had two
Yeah.
Jyn Ursos, right? Same exact figure.
Right.
And I don't know the Rogue One collection well enough off the top of my head. Would you display them? Would you have one Jyn
Yeah.
Urso on the U-Wing and then one on the hover tank right next to each other?
Right. Well, there were a lot of Jyn Ursos, right? Just as a,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think there was any duplicates. But to your point, like if they were
Right.
duplicated,
Specifically, if they were duplicates, right? They're unique. They're unique. It's like, okay, cool, whatever.
if they were duplicated and you were like putting them all on the same shelf, like I guess it just depends, right? And like if you were if that's what makes sense for you, like hey, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, I think this goes down to the individual and sort of you pick the way that you want to display, and as long as you're sort of honoring that, but you can always change it up too, and change. You know, it doesn't have to be like this uniform code of display that you stick to on
Right.
every single shelf. You know, some can be more whimsical, some can be more, like the UCS sets kind of stand on their own, right? Like,
Right.
unless you're going to build like a landing pad for Slave One, UCS Slave One will be displayed on its stand, and that's it. And it's got its own little plaque. So, if you have like UCS sets, those are probably displayed on their own versus like the the play sets that could be kind of combined into a unique environment. So
Well, and so kind of taking it a step further, some of the challenges that I've come up with is like, well, then, for example, you have Vision from Civil War, and then you have Vision from the Infinity War, and it's the same minifigure. So when you catalog it and you look at the catalog, Brickset doesn't count it as an Infinity War figure; they count it as a Civil War figure. So if
yeah,
you just display your minifigures, let's say separately, not with the sets, all of a sudden you've got Vision. You have two of them, same
hmm
exact Vision. One came in an Infinity War set and one came in Civil War. And if you're just like, okay, well, according to Brickset, according to Bricklink, these are the Civil War minifigures, you only have one. And Vision wouldn't even be included in the Infinity War sets. So that's
yeah,
where I like to, originally I went that way. It was easier to maintain. It was easier to catalog because you literally had a list. But then all of a sudden
right,
it felt weird where it's like, well, Vision came in that set, but he's not in this set, or he's not in this group of minifigures. Because when I was displaying them that way, I had like every minifigure on display, which I still do, but I just had them like all in order of when they came out.
yeah,
Because again, if you display them by like character, for example, you got all your Iron Mans over here, and then all your Captain Americas over here. When they come out with a new Iron Man, that means you have to literally move every single minifigure down one peg. And if there's 400 minifigures, that is f-wording terrible.
I
Trying to
mean,
watch my mouth here.
the only way, I mean, like, unless you were to do like, hey, I'm displaying every Iron Man, every War Machine, right? Like,
Which I did that for a while. I had them kind
right.
of on their own stand so that you could like, okay, well, instead of having to move 400 minifigures, I only have to move 4.
I think the solution, well, if you do it chronologically, then it's not a problem because you just
Mm-hmm.
add the new ones to the bottom,
Right.
right?
But
But
then it's chronological, and you've got like some random minifigure next to another, you got the Shang-Chi minifigure next to the Eternals minifigure, and you're like, okay, why? Oh, they made a mistake, and they just, okay, this is SH4102, and this is
yeah,
SH4103, but they have nothing to do with each other. It's just how that person cataloged them that day. Okay.
well, I think again, right? Like this just gets back into how you as a person want to do this.
Yep.
I hear you debating it a lot, and you're a very analytical dude, and so I think there's no right answer, and so I think
Mm-hmm.
you could be sort of stuck debating this question for a
Well,
while.
I'll tell you my answer, which to me is the right answer,
I see.
as it should be, right? Like, and
Yeah,
and that was the point we were making before, where it's like your decisions, it's all you're doing this for you, so you should
right.
be happy with it.
I
So
mean,
for me, I I built these shelves through wood. I was going to use bricks, but like my gosh, Lego bricks are expensive, especially compared to wood. So I built some wood shelves, got them on display, and I've got different sizes of them. And now I'll have, like, for example, I'll use Ant-Man as an example because it's a fairly smaller collection. There's really three sets there. There's the original Ant-Man movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
one set from Ant-Man Quantumanium, and there's like 6 figures total. Actually, I think there's 7. I made little stands. They're just the 4x3x1 Lego bricks, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a sticker on them that's got the logo for Ant-Man, Ant-Man Quantumanium, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I put them on the shelf next to that logo. So I've got the Ant-Man and the Wasp minifigures here, and that I've got the Ant-Man Quantumanium over here, and I've got the Ant-Man original over here, and then I've got the sets around them. Right, so it's still keeping them near the sets, but also
Yeah.
kind of having the minifigures shine on their own a little bit, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I mean,
There's going to be
certainly,
some exceptions.
yeah, certainly there's, a lot of the minifigures themselves, although I'll throw some shade at Marvel because they always like to use solid like legs or arms for stuff. Sometimes they do
Yeah,
really well, but other times they don't. Like the Black Panther minifigure, I think usually just has black legs. And I'm like, come on,
they put
guys.
so much detail in like the face and the torso, like more detail than they need to. Then they have like, it's like putting putting lipstick on a pig, right?
Well, or like the Thors, right? Like are usually solid pants, and you're just like, you could give us a little bit more detail there. That would be
Right.
nice. But I think there's certainly an argument to be made about displaying just the minifigures in such a way that you can appreciate those details. Because if you have them on the set, sometimes they're not going to be facing the viewer. Sometimes they're going to be facing the viewer.
Right.
And so if you decide to do kind of that action pose thought process, you're not always going to get, the ability to really enjoy them. One thing that would be really slick that I'm going to not blow your mind with, but it could send you down a path of
Send me down.
would be to build a Technic structure, much like I think Jang did it in his reviews, where he has the minifigure set up and it turns, and then all 4 of them independently turn. But if you built like a Technic structure within the shelf that's like set up on a Technic motor and geared really low, so that it's like the figure is turning at like a really low speed on, your Technic structure itself, which
I've actually
wouldn't
made one of those.
take up a lot of room. That could be a really fun way to display some minifigures too. But the number of minifigures in your Marvel collection alone is insane. And so I saw
Yeah, I would only do that
online.
for like a special like Comic-Con minifigure or something like that. But then
Well, then you're
if they
taking
have
it
a
out of the
cape, you
pack.
can't even see the back of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then you're taking out the packaging.
I think it was what's that YouTube channel that does they're like red and yellow bricks something. They do a lot of the brick fair, brick world,
Beyond the
like
Brick.
live from the convention. Yeah, Beyond the Brick. Thank you. Beyond the Brick showed. I think they had an episode where they showed someone who had collected every Star Wars figure ever, and it was like take your Marvel collection and like triple it. It was like
Yeah,
insane.
there's 1,400 minifigures.
I mean, it was just like doorways of Lego figures, and
Yeah.
just so yeah. I don't, that's definitely a tough question. We are getting very long in the tooth on this episode, so I just wanted to leave kind of the viewers with and listeners with just a thought process of how they want to organize their displays. And Grinch, please feel free to chime in if I miss something here. But I think the first step to kind of summarize our discussion is to figure out what you want to display, right? And that really will
Right.
drive how you display it. So are you displaying the UCS Millennium Falcon, or are you displaying a battle pack? And if you're going to display like the Rogue One battle pack, for example, you don't need a lot of space. That can go anywhere, right? Whereas like the UCS Millennium Falcon either needs its own dedicated shelf if you can find one that fits it, or you need to find a way to fit it within the structure, or however you want to do that, right? So starting with what you want to display is important. Next would be, if you have multiple Lego sets, maybe kind of thinking through how you want to display them. So, like if it's going into a bookshelf that's covered on every side but one, how you want to lay that out so that you get to see as much of it as possible, right? And
Right.
so, probably a very lazy U would be my guess, or a half circle, um, so that you're able to kind of see every single set. But start with that. Then think through: am I going to incorporate the minifigures, or am I not going to incorporate the minifigures? So, because there's pluses
Incorporate the
and minuses
minifigures.
into the display of the set, right? Or am
Right.
I going to
Oh,
separate them and display them on their own? Um, a, a good example of that might be like the front of the house. Yeah, you're getting kind of the side from the street, but you're not getting the inside. And so if you were to incorporate the minifigures but display just the front, you'd be basically not seeing any of the minifigures.
if I
So
may say too, I think subjectively a better example of that would be modulars.
absolutely, right? Because
Like I
there's
don't
so
really
much
care about
going
the
on.
minifigures, but I like to have life on that display, so I just put them wherever.
Right. Yeah. Which which then kind of, that's a great question, right? Because the modulars really benefit from you being able to open them up. So if you're
Right.
going to display a modular, maybe putting them in a closed bookshelf is not the best place for them, unless that is just the way that you want to do that, right?
Unless it's
Because
in $1,000 green grocery.
at the end of the day, that's entirely up to the user, and it
Right.
should be user dependent. And then
Should.
I would say, last but not least, like it might not be a bad idea to think about a budget, right? Because you're definitely going to be spending a little extra money here to display your Lego sets. And before you decide that you want this, vacuum sealed structure, or these custom plexiglass displays that are made,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, like, what's that going to cost me? And then, is that something I'm uh, ultimately I can kind of commit to for a series of sets? So, because I think that's important to ask yourself as well.
Yeah, did want to
Chris,
give a shout out to a
I miss
company called
anything?
ModuCase.
Yeah.
That's going to be your high end, like your highest end, probably. Lights built in, front panels covered, etc.
Hmm.
But like a single, you know, 18 by 30 box, because they come in boxes, like it's modular, right? One
Hmm.
of those is like $200. I think it's like 260.
Yeah.
And so like a full, the same size, the same amount of display area that you'd essentially get from a Billy, except for a little bit more display space depth, um, would be like 6 times the amount.
Yeah.
And the other problem with ModuCase in my mind is it takes 6 to 8 months to even get them to you because they manufacture them for you. But that would be the top of the line display option, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's some great like places to look at. Anyone who does anything for like antiques or museum stuff, certainly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing cards, the companies that build cases for like football helmets, um, and sporting equipment, like autograph sporting equipment. Like, there's definitely some good places to start if you have that kind of money and that's the degree that
Yeah.
you want to display. Shadow boxes are another good place to
Mm-hmm.
go if you want, for like minifigures. You had some of those shadow box cases that had like the fronts that would open up. Um,
I had those, but they were not Lego. They were Lego compatible, and the
mhm.
only issue with that is try to use Lego wherever possible. When it comes to your minifigures specifically, because they don't use the same exact measurements of Lego. So even though there's studs on them, they might stress the legs and they might break your legs.
Mm.
People have been posting a lot about broken legs, and I often always see them on a Lego compatible base plate or a Lego compatible something to connect them. Use Lego official brick to connect. The other thing that you can do for super expensive minifigures is use the little panel piece. That's just the back panel with the little, it's the 1x2, and it's got the back panel on it and then the little middle panel in between them, that they use in like cockpits a lot to like actually fit between Lego minifigures. Do that. Your minifigure can fall off of
Mm.
it easier, but then there's no stress on those leg joints at all. So if you've got like a Captain Rex or a Lego figure with brown or dark red torso legs, that could be certainly beneficial. And then the other thing that is, if you got a torso that can crack easily, don't have them attached to their legs. Have them just barely hanging on to their legs so that you're not putting any stress on them. It looks a little bit weird, but it will protect your figure in the long run.
If you put the panel side on the back, you almost wouldn't even see it.
You don't see it. You only see it between the legs. So like use black or something.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is like if you touch the shelf, they can fall off.
Yeah, that's fair. So Grinch, any kind of wrap up thoughts or anything, final parting thoughts for displaying your Lego collection for the listeners and viewers?
No, I got part 2 of the video coming out probably in 2 weeks because I'm on vacation this week and I'm traveling for work the next. And then hopefully part 3, like that final part, will be coming out after that, shortly after that. So keep up with that, and then ask any questions you have in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've had a couple of different videos showing your displays in the past too. So if anyone's interested, kind of digging into the AFOLs Welcome archive for some of Grinch's former videos or plain old Grinch videos where he showed off some of his older collections and how they were curated and actually physically set up. So if anyone has any questions about that or wants to see it.
Good call.
Great. So moving on to our next topic, what are we building this week? Grinch, what are you building this week? And we'll include the month of July because we haven't had a chance to talk about this, but we'll keep it to one set for everybody.
I will not include the month of July because, quite frankly, I don't even remember everything I built.
What a great
I built a lot.
to have.
I know. I'm working on one set. I just ran out of time. The last night before we left, I'm working on the Auspicious Dragon, but then the other set that I finally built it, was the Indiana Jones temple from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just a phenomenal set. I mean, really cool play features. There's a play feature where like you just twist it and then the idol head pops up. And then you twist it some more, and then it drops down, and then you twist it again, and then like the top part falls, but it doesn't fall all the way down. It just kind of like collapses, and then you can easily just pop it back in there and retwist. And then with the little boulder, just a great set. It's a little bit shorter, like it's not as wide as I thought it would be, especially compared to the originals, like way wider and way more kind of like sprawled out. This is a lot more compact and tight, which I knew was more compact and tight. It just, after building it, like there's really just 3 distinct sections. Felt a little bigger than that on the box, but certainly I'm not like disappointed in that. Just something I noticed.
Absolutely. No, those are great sets. That one, especially that mechanism for the boulder falling and rolling, is so cool to see. Just the way that Lego has it set up, kind of behind the scenes, really just, these dudes are so good at their jobs. Like, I mean, obviously, but it's very easy to like be a fanboy for what they can put together because it's just really cool to see. What I'm building this week, I actually have not built anything in the last week, but since moving and getting kind of established in our short-term housing situation, I picked up the Dune Ornithopter, and that was also a really cool set. It was actually probably one of the more complicated builds I've built in a long time. Definitely one to be kind of very much paying attention to the directions with. From a build perspective, right? Like the bags weren't very big, so every stage wasn't like a ton. It got to a point where you really had to pay attention that things were positioned correctly before you took next steps, because it really relied on that to be the case with some of the technique in it. But again, what a really awesome movement mechanism that they have built in, with the wings folding and unfolding and then flapping, and then just the way the landing gear kind of come out when the thing goes to land. I think they did it a lot of justice, The set looks great. The minifigures are really, really fun. The only thing that I wish Lego could have worked on was maybe coming up with a Paul Atreides in his still suit, because you get him in his like Atreides formal uniform, but you don't get one of them in a still suit, and he spends most of the second movie in a still suit. So that would have been kind of a cool minifigure to get. Other than that, though, it is really fun. I mean, it's largely based off of the first movie, not the second movie. So there's that. But what a really cool one-off set for Lego. Just a really fun build. So
Yeah.
highly recommend it. If anyone is interested or on the fence about it, it's definitely a good one to pick up.
Yeah, that one is in my backlog for sure.
Nice. Well, next, let's move on to some brick mail. We have two brick mails that we're going to highlight this week. Grinch, why don't you take the first one?
This is from Corey Les. He was kind of responding from our last communication. He just said he's really looking forward to seeing the completed display cases. I think you said you're just building them yourself, which is great. I may end up doing the same thing. I like the idea of using custom cut plexiglass. My son is leaving for college in August, so I'll have some extra time on my hands for such a task. It takes a while. Certainly, it does take a while to do the custom. I would, where you can, find a frame and then just add custom pieces to it like I did with the Vestas in my video, because there's just so much more work that actually goes into the frame part of building like the custom shelf, that if you can find the frame that meets the right dimensions that you need, adding the door or adding the glass and then adding the lights is a lot easier than like starting from a piece of plywood and cutting your way down. Also, just to expand on our experience with Leppin sets, I recently put together Leppin Execute Star Destroyer and several Lego sets. While the Leppin is decent quality and most people wouldn't notice the difference, the feel of the plastic is very noticeable. The edges are sharper and my fingers hurt after a few bags. I next put together the Lego Mandalorian helmet and did not have that problem. Also, the shape of the ship seems a little bendy/warped, which I'm not crazy about how it looks on my shelf, so I'll probably buy the Lego set once I see a good sale. Keep up the good work and enjoy your month off from July from the podcast. Look forward to the next episode in August. Well, it's good to be back. Hope you're listening in, Corey.
Yeah. Thank you, Corey.
We will talk about Lego versus fake Lego probably in an upcoming episode, because that's been requested a couple of times now.
On our next brick mail for the week, or July rather, one of the ones we picked up was from Bob, who said, I listened to the show today and I hope you and Wes enjoy your month off. We did, but we're happy to be back and excited to be back. I look forward to new shows in August, and hopefully you guys can make it to Brick World next year. Happy building, Bob. And Bob, I know just a couple of notes there, which is we appreciate the feedback and you listening. And we are in talks to get out to some of the brick fairs and brick worlds and conventions. We haven't picked one yet that we want to go to. We have a couple that we're kind of thinking through, but it is definitely something that Grinch and I have talked about. I don't know if we would necessarily like set up a booth and record. I've seen a couple podcasts do that in the past, but it might be something where we get out and just explore and then share our thoughts afterwards or something like that. But maybe we have some stickers or something made up. I don't know. We'll think through it. We have some time to kind of get to that point, but we're excited to get out there a little bit more and hopefully meet some of you guys who take your time out of your day to listen to the show or watch the show on YouTube. And we appreciate that. So, Grinch, got anything else for everybody?
No, I think you summed it up well there. I think, if we did a Brick World, for now at least, it'd probably just be like more of a meetup sort of deal than like than a full-on live from Brick World.
But maybe.
Good. Something to work towards.
What would you guys like to see if you had people come out and see the convention? So
yeah, good question.
Grinch, what's our next week's episode?
Next week, why don't you suggest tell them about it, because I believe it was your idea.
That's right. Next week, I think we are going to talk about the using Lego as a way to unwind, relax, maybe a little therapeutic. Inspiration from this. So this is a reverse brick mail. Actually came from the U.S. women's rugby team and one of their star players, Sam Sullivan, who is a huge fan of Lego. I started following Alona Mayer on Instagram. She's all over the place. She's hilarious. Started then following Sam Sullivan, and that was when I realized how much of a fan Sam was of Lego. She's made it really clear the last few days, and it's been really fun to watch. And so that's the inspiration for this episode, is talking about how you can use Lego to unwind. So I'm excited for that topic, and we're going to get after that next week. So.
Well, we are back with a bang because I think officially this is going to be our longest episode ever, as well as our longest brick mail ever. So if you made it this far, you're goated. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, guys. And that's a wrap of another episode of AFOLs Welcome. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you are listening to the show. If you would like to write the podcast, please email us at afolswelcome@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at AFOLs Welcome. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
Peace.